Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Intimidator Superspeedway Series with the edition of March Madness 2025, and we have made it to round 2, the Sweet 16. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. You are watching Austin Green alongside Matthew Baker on PGR eSports. Well, we had an exciting round of 32 last week, Baker, and here tonight we kick off the much-anticipated Sweet 16. How you doing tonight, and how you feeling about some of the matchups we got in store tonight?
Oh man, excited. You know, I love this car. They call me V-Car Baker because this is one of my favorite cars to race, and excited to watch it at Talladega, hoping for a little less netcode now that we're at Talladega, but it should be a good race. You got Miles on the pole, but speaking of the matchups, we already have one matchup complete. That is Michael Triscaro and Falkingham. Michael Triscaro was not able to make the Thursday race, so they had an agreement that they were going to race it out on Wednesday night over on R&R on Ninth Gear Broadcasting, and Michael Triscaro prevailed in a crazy truck race that saw many cautions as we're going to roll off here. But yeah, I'm really excited for this race.
Absolutely, and before we get into your starting grid, quick brief disclaimer. I know we had some issues last week. Things went fine in all the other broadcasts I did, but obviously still a little bit concerned, so please let me know in the chat if everything's looking okay, and if it's not, we'll do a quick reset, and I will have the final solution if for some reason there is a problem. We think we've kind of rooted it down, but again, please do let me know. With that, let's get right into your starting grid as the cars are rolling here to get ready to get going green. Stephen Miles takes the pole here tonight. He will start first for Nightmare Esports in that 24 car. Nash Brambilla, who is outside in second. It'll be Landon Veliky back in third. Kenny Reel starts in fourth with Daniel Eberhardt back in fifth. Logan York in 6th with David Flanagan back in 7th. It's going to be Steve Sizemore in 8th with Daniel Falkingham in 9th. And Garrett Maines rounding out your top 10. Moving on back to 11th, it's Josh Gambrone with Dylan Jones back to the outside of row number 6. He will start in 12th. Colin Bowden and Cody Nagels in row 7. Briar LaPrade and Matthew Patton back in row 8 with Matthew Stallnecht in 17th. Evan Karlbaum 18th. Jared Haynes in 19th. And Brian Hennings rounding out your top 20. Jeff Merck, Richard Elliott starting back in row 11. Alex Hill and Mike Davenport in row 12. Row 13 is going to be Asher Little and Nathan Harper with Ethan Eckert, Brock Westerlund in row 14. Devin Ray and Nick Seipel round out the top 30. Freddie Bosnes starts 31st. Miles Bagley 32nd. Axel Smith in 33rd with Tucker McClendon in 34th. James Wagner in 35th with Sterling Tice in 36th. That'll be Matt Lee 37th. Trevor Osborne 38th. Kyler Wynn and John Ward round out the top 40. It'll be Aubrey Thompson, Joshua McCullough, row 21. Christopher McCullough and Ken McCullough Jr., two teammates in row 22. Mark Vondell, another one of the McCullough Motorsports drivers, rounding out the 45-car field. Brief look at your race info. Again, it is the Sweet 16 round for March Madness. We're going to go 55 laps here tonight at 45% fuel. No fast repair fixed setups. And 3 green-white checkers. And notice the track temp, 110. So it's going to be a little hot, a little slick, but don't necessarily think it's going to be anything out of control. All right, here we go as the pace car rolls off. The field rolls up and into the Geico restart zone. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. We're underway in the Sweet 16 of March Madness. Field working down the back stretch for the first time here tonight. 2x2, the 24. Stephen Miles out in front on the inside. Just behind him, the 62 of Landon Veliky doing all the pushing. Meanwhile, up top, trying to lead the way and trying to get some momentum going right now is the 23 of Nash Brambilla. A little bit of a different looking paint scheme for Nash in these Xfinity cars here tonight. And the 62 of Veliky going to jump up. He will now turn to the lead pusher position. But we're going to already be talking about some of these matchups. And by the way, I do want to note, you notice all the drivers that you see in red on your screen, on your screen. If a driver is highlighted in red, that means that they are one of the drivers that are fighting to advance from the round of 16 on to the final 8. Excuse me, I believe it's the Elite 8, and then of course the final 4 will be the ladder after that. So just keep that in mind, and then we'll also show you the bracket here in just a little bit. A lot of exciting things to talk about, Baker, and so far up front, Landon Veliky, the highest running of your Sweet 16 drivers.
A good-looking paint scheme. Stephen Miles looks like he's got a new number 24 machine as well in the Xfinity car. Landon Veliky, he's got his father's VFW post that he works out of. And I made that paint scheme personally, so I am partial to it, but it looks good up there. Leading on the top side, like you said, the very first of the drivers in the Sweet 16 leading, taking it to the bottom side. And then you got Nash from Billa. He's got a PGR SummerSlam 499 scheme in that black and orange, beautiful looking chrome car. Steve Sizemore with Logan York in the back. And Kenny Real, good to see him make a return out here. He took a couple weeks off after being unsuspended, but you see that third line starting to work. Who is it? Nightmare Esports, Cody Nagels, Alex Hill trying to lead the top side, taking it 3 wide.
And that third lane getting rolling here pretty early. We wondered how long it would be before we saw these guys trying to get something going up top. And remember, the track temp over 100 degrees, so that third lane is going to be a factor if you get the right pushers involved. And man, already these guys getting really aggressive. Don't forget, there is no fast repair, so if you make a mistake and get caught up in an accident, your night could be done early. But so far, so good as we stay 3x3 now. 4 of 55 laps in the books. And if you're just tuning in, you are watching March Madness 2025 for PGR eSports. The Sweet 16 up front leading. Stephen Miles in the 24 on the bottom, the 62 of Landon Veliky in the middle, and the 02 of Logan York trying to draw even with the leaders up top.
How about Matt Patton? He's up into the top 15, doing a great job. Eberhardt saying that he is hot there on the bottom side. He's transitioned all of his, pure white schemes back to having some color to it. He's got some Bass Pro Shop logos, Tracker Bass Pro. He's a big hunter, big fisher, and he's trying to hunt the front on the bottom side, pushing Stephen Miles, running out of a little bit of attempts though with Flanagan, Falkingham behind. Falkingham, he's got nothing to lose tonight. He knows he's not battling Triscaro for the top 8, so he's going to go back out there and try and make a little bit of money. I know he's disappointed with the way the race was going last night, but Ethan Eckert in a new Nightmare scheme. You've got Nightmare lined up top with Logan York getting pushed from Garrett Maines as well. Cody Nagels slotted down into the middle line. But these matchups, you could see Matt Patton go for another Elite 8 run like he did last year. He upset Logan York last week. Can he upset Christopher McCullough? Christopher McCullough back there with his teammate Mark Vondell and his predecessor Kenny McCullough as well, who's got a new scheme. I've never seen him run a blue scheme, but he's all the way in the back. Oh, Landon Veliky up front takes a little bit of trouble. Oh, there goes Steve.
And this could pile a lot of them up. Steve Sizemore going to get hit by the 3. Ken McCullough Jr. nowhere to go. Or excuse me, that might have been Matthew Patton, actually. I take that back. And the 3 machine that just got tagged right there. And now the rest of the field behind trying to slow down and make sure they avoid any contact. As you see the 3, that was indeed Matthew Patton, who you just mentioned, Baker. Unfortunately getting involved in this first incident here of the night. It was both him and Steve Sizemore. It looked like they got the worst of it. But certainly still had a few more cars involved. There's Steve Sizemore creeping on the apron. And yeah, most of his damage looks like is in the rear end of that race car. He did get tagged when he came back up the racetrack. And by the way, this early caution here with only 6 of 55 laps in the books is going to make the fuel strategy potentially a little bit interesting. But before we get to that, let's go back and see what brings out your first caution here of the night. So we'll start first with an aerial shot. See if we can find out exactly where it all goes wrong here for Steve Sizemore. Now, they had just gotten 4 wide. In fact, they were 3 wide here. But Cody Nagels decides it's time to go here. Wants no part of sitting behind the 8 any longer. And watches they come off of turn 4. Cody's going to set this move up. And right there he lifts, and then right there makes the move. The gap's there. There's plenty of room. But then once he goes there, it looks like right as they get into the tri-oval here, I'm not sure if the 8 of Sizemore just doesn't quite realize that they're 4 wide now, or if he just thinks he's kind of running out of room. Whatever the deal is, you'll see the 8 right as they get into the tri-oval right here. He's starting to creep down the racetrack, and Nagels is there. Maybe a slight bit of netcode, but those 2 were destined to make contact regardless. And then once they do, Baker, this could have been really, really big. I think we got away with one here. It looks like mainly 3 cars with heavy damage. You see the 30 right there at the end. Didn't see that initially, but besides that, I think everybody else overall is okay. It looked like Richard Elliott may have had slight contact, but not enough that's really going to affect his race much at all. And so everybody will try to get going again. A lot of cars that scattered through the grass and had to split down low to miss it. But again, overall, I think a lot of the field escaped what looked like was going to be the big one here early.
Yeah, get away pretty unscathed there. Unfortunate for Matt Patton. The commentator's curse just after I talk about him. Gets involved in nothing to his own. But real early,
really, really early caution here. Hopefully that isn't going to set the tone for the rest of the race. But, unfortunate for Patton. He should be able to get that left front repaired. Probably has a little bit of toe damage, but it doesn't look like really anything else that damaged. Just took a pretty hard lick on the left front.
And I'll tell you what, another guy who's destined for a break here is James Wagner. Another innocent victim in that accident. It seems like that's been the case for him every week. Gets caught up in somebody else's mess, and man, just cannot seem to catch a break in that 30 machine. James Wagner, all he does with both R&R and then everything he does for PGR and a lot of the other money racing series, he's bound to go to victory lane. It's just a matter of when. Unfortunately, it's not going to be here tonight. Not with the damage that he sustained in that wreck, as that was, I think, the biggest contact that really anybody sustained. As we look at one more view here from the drone cam, and then we'll switch things over here, kind of mid-shot to the starter cam. And Steve Sizemore, when you see a car slide back up the racetrack like that, it's so tough to dodge it because you've got cars scattering on both your left and right. And you're trying to kind of judge which way he's going to go, where he's going to end up, if you should hit the gas, hit the brake. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Nonetheless, though, as we go back live and up front, leading the way now with just 7 of 55 laps complete, the former Hyper Motorsports captain and Dega Pros owner, John Ward, has the 92 car. Bad Fast Dega Pros paint scheme on board his Toyota Supra here tonight. The driver out of Valdosta, Georgia, up front and leading the way. He knows how to get it done in big events, and Baker, he played some strategy here as he now has himself up 39 positions from where he started this race at. Stephen Miles, your pole sitter, currently sitting in second. Landon Velke back in third, with Kenny Reel fourth and Logan York currently rounding out your top five. And for John Ward here, Baker, is the assumption that he thinks we're probably going to have a few more cautions here, and maybe the pit strategy isn't going to be what everybody is going to assume it would be if we were to go green the whole way.
Yeah, and oh man, Steve Sizemore looks like he had absolute trouble on the entering pit road. Looks like his computer froze up and he wasn't able to get it slowed down in time, and destroyed his car. Oh my goodness.
Yikes. Wow. Oh my goodness. We see the damage to that car. Yeah, let's go back and see exactly what gave him that damage here. Oh man, rips the entire wheel off that. What in the world happens to Steve Sizemore right here? This is as he's coming off of the corner, off of turn 4. He already had the damage, which was mostly isolated to the back of that race car, so it seemed like he was going to be okay. And then as he comes off of 4, oh yeah, major technical malfunction. What a hit. Up in the air and on its side goes the number 8 Ford Mustang, and once it lands back on all 4, engines destroyed, suspensions destroyed. I mean, that is a harder hit than what anybody took in the actual wreck. So a very tough break right there for Steve Sizemore to round that out. Let's see if we could find this incident again from his cockpit view. Here you go. He's kind of going not at pace speed, but not that fast. And right there, yeah, you just see the wheel turning left. No matter what he does, it's just kind of stuck turning left. So a tough break as we now get ready to go back to green flag racing for Steve Sizemore. All right, field now working its way off of turn number 4 as they'll come off of the 30-plus degree banking. With the lights off, means we are going back green this time. Again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. And I know I'm asking a lot. You just want to sit here and watch the stream. I don't blame you, but due to the issues we had last week, I'll probably ask a few times here tonight. Please, if you're watching in the chat, let me know. Does the video look as smooth as it normally does? Does everything sound good? If there's any issues, let me know so we can write it down and either fix it tonight if it gets really bad, or of course have it fixed up for next week. All right, here we go. Green flag back in the air. 8 of 55, make it 9 of 55 laps now complete here at Talladega. And a good restart for the 92 of John Ward. He leads the field off 2x2 as they climb the banking into turn number 1. And all that 2x2 action spreads out a little bit as they get back to right around row 4, where Garrett Maines was able to find a spot to jump up in front of the 23 of Nash Brambilla. And by the way, trouble, yeah, right there for Nash. Does he save it? He does. They all are going to save it, but now they're going to fan out. Can they all merge back onto the racetrack? That'll be the bigger question as they work into turn number 3. So far, so good. Still a little bit of 2, even 3 wide. We got one blinking down on the inside, but it looks like everybody is going to save it. How about that one after what looked like was going to be our second caution of the night? Everybody holds on. Brambilla falls back to 20th. And what happened here, Baker? I just looked down to see some data. I heard you called out. Next thing you know, we look up, and They're almost piling it up on the backstretch.
Yeah, just like Nash Brambilla got a bad bump from Eberhardt, and once he did, it just got him squirrely. He wasn't really able to save it, but he kept it together just enough to keep everyone alive there. Veliky, not that his temps are hot, but everyone going to regroup here, try and go to the third lane, make their way to the front. That is Daniel Eberhardt.
Oh, and you see what starts it, too, as we go back and look at a replay. Nash was getting ready to push Garrett, but realized he was going to push him offset. So Nash had to jump out of the gas. The whole line's organized behind him, and that's what causes Eberhardt, who's getting pushed from behind, to get into Nash. He's trying to dodge him. And yeah, that is a heck of a save and a big break for everybody. That almost ended a couple more nights. All right, now back up front we go. Kenny Reel in the number 11 Jordan paint scheme for his Chevy Camaro now draws even with his Nightmare eSports teammates. Excuse me, I guess I should say former teammate. I think Kenny Reel's running with Jack Shack. Whoever he's running with, he's running up front right now is the one of Garrett Maines will take the point on the outside. And don't count out the 39. Daniel Falkingham, Matthew Baker mentioned that he did lose his Sweet 16 battle with Michael Triscaro. That was the head-to-head bracket that he was in. And so now as things stand, he is currently running just to see if he can earn some money tonight. Alex Hill in the 77. He's going to jump to the outside. And tell you what, Baker, I think if there's one driver that would have had a great chance at making it all the way through to the championship, it would have been that 77 car, but Alex not entering March Madness this year, so he'll just be racing for money the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and we see a little bit of blinking issues from Freddie Basness, been talking about Alex Hill. Yeah, he's one of the best for sure. But 3 wide up front. He's getting a great push from Daniel Eberhardt. He's going to almost get clear. He does. Kenny Reel trying to beat him to the punch. That could have really stacked everyone up, but it doesn't. They get away scotch-free there. Great push from Daniel Eberhardt, but even better push from Josh Giambroni trying to make it work on the outside line. Kenny Reel, he's got fresh temps, but he didn't have the momentum. And Daniel Eberhardt, so close to being clear. 3 wide. Kyler Wynn gets into the back. They're 4 wide trying to save it. Oh, man, he just holds on to it, and he does. What a save from Josh Giambroni.
Oh, my goodness. Josh Giambrone was probably about a foot from piling them all up again, and that final correction he made saves this race car and saves the rest of the field. Watch this again one more time before we go back live, as don't want to miss too much with the way these guys are racing, but as they're going down the back, Giambrone pushing for all it's worth, trying to get the 90 clear, and then as Kyler Wynn gets to the back of him, gets out of shape, and right there is the big correction, and that one is the one that ultimately saves it. As man, look how sideways he is right here, almost 45 degrees. Heck of a save by Giambrone to keep it clean, as he will now also fall back further than Nash Brambilla did during his near miss. Currently sits in 26, but up front, Daniel Eberhardt still looking to try to go to the point. He's got the lead, but has not been able to find his way down to the bottom of the racetrack just yet. Further back, Nash Brambilla. We just mentioned him fading. Well, it looks like he's ready to come back to the front. He's going to try to jump to the outside. No run there. Will he maybe look back to the middle? It looks like he will, and instead it's going to be the 19 and the 6. That's Cody Nagels going to try to jump to the outside. Can he get Briar LaPrade to go with him? Yes, he can. Those two are going to try to make their way to the front. 14 of 55 laps now in the books, and they're going to get some more help. Look to the outside now. Is that going to be the 18 of Freddie Bosnes, who's blinking around a little bit? But he will indeed jump to this outside. The 04 Matt Lee will go as well. The third lane's got momentum. Can they take it all the way to the front? Not yet. Alex Hill still out on the point.
There it is. There's the big move from Daniel Eberhardt. He knew it was coming. They were formed up top. He thinks, Kenny Reel gets Alex Hill out of shape. They're all going to stack up to the middle. And really killed that third line's momentum because they checked up, thought the wreck was about to happen, but now Ward, he gets clear up. He's the benefactor. Matt Lee looking out 4 wide with Kyler Wynn. He knows he will go with him. They just need a couple more cars to keep going, but these cars are so out of shape. I don't see 4 wide working here for more than half a lap.
Yeah, I'm shocked that we haven't had caution number 2 already, but man, 4 wide here in the Xfinity cars is a really, really tough ask. There's room for it, but these cars are just so darty and all over the place that you've got to be so precise with the steering wheel movements to keep it together. And now as they rocket down the backstretch, the inside had a brief wobble off at 2. That allows the middle and the third lane to start to draw a little bit more even as they stay 3 wide up front. Notice as you get to probably right around, looks like the 25th position, then they start to go back to 2x2 for a couple rows, and then they single file out. Baker, these are all the drivers that are playing it safe right now. Obviously, you don't want to lose the pack, as a couple of them have. Brock Westmoreland, Matthew Patton, and it looks like the 59 of Mark Fondell. Now, Patton involved in that first wreck. him, Mark Vondell, and Brock Westmoreland all just trying to draft together to catch back up to the leaders. And a couple of the other cars that sustained damage in that first wreck still out on the racetrack, including James Wagner and Nick Seipel, who doesn't have damage, but currently sits behind. So we go back towards the front of the pack here. We do have a few onboards here tonight that we will go through, and we've got one for the Jack Shack, make it two for the Jack Shack. Evan Carlbon carrying an onboard view for us here tonight, along with Trevor Ozernoff and Jeff Merck. Now for Jeff Merck, Baker, he's got kind of a bird's eye view, I guess, if you will, of this whole thing. He's sitting out back just playing it safe. Do you think he's playing it this way because he's in that bracket challenge, or do you think he just doesn't like what he sees?
Yeah, I think he sees Cody up there in the mix, and he doesn't want to put himself also up there in the mix towards this, four wide action, trying with Matt Lee and Kyler Wynn yet again. They know, oh man, and Cody Nagel splitting both lanes, Freddie trying to keep it tucked, but he knows if one wrong move happens from anyone in this pack, it is going to obliterate this field. So he's betting on that. It's a good bet, trying to get to the pit stops here.
As we now look on the onboard view for Trevor Ozernoff, looks like he's having a pretty good time chatting it up with his teammate who's running just next to him right now. Those two currently sitting in the 33rd and 34th position, Evan Carlbon and Trevor Ozernoff. And again, just keeping tabs on all this action up front, knowing that we have a pit stop coming up. You don't need to get too aggressive now, but Baker, I've had the chance to race with these guys and of course yourself the last couple weeks in the Super Speedway Kings races, and obviously equally as competitive of a field. Now, one thing I noticed during these green flag stops in pretty much any of the series is that if you're further back, sure, you're playing it safe, but you almost need to be a certain distance towards the front, or you're in jeopardy of losing the pack once you come out of the pit stops.
100%. See Falkingham, or sorry, not Falkingham, Cody Nagel.
Oh, trouble!
Oh!
Matt Lee, can he save it?
From Matt Lee. Oh, one up into the wall. They save it yet again.
Man, Gambro, like a pinball tonight. He's getting beat up left and right as they're going to split him to all try to sneak around. That's Matthew Stallneck in the 41. Who had to go four wide just briefly. Aubrey Thompson follows him through. Now they'll start to all try to get lined up as, Joshua McCullough and Dylan Jones now get together. But another really close call, and yet again, Matt Lee saves it. It almost looked like there may have been a little bit of brief netcode right there, Baker. It's hard to tell. Yeah, okay, well, there you go.
Between Matt Lee and no one. But up front, they're not netcoding. They're pushing through each other. Alex Hill on the back bumper of Kenny Reel, people calling out pitting. John Ward, he did that different strategy. He stayed out, so he will be pitting next time by.
And no pit stops just yet, but we're keeping tabs on it here. Who's going to go in first and how big of a group will try to follow? As we're just about at the 20-lap mark, and we may have mentioned it already, but just in case you forgot or we didn't mention it, fuel window 45% in these cars. Baker, correct me if I'm wrong, probably, if I had to say 45%, what, between 15 to 20 laps, somewhere in that window? And here we go, pit stop, John Ward.
Say about 17 laps. He was one of those that stayed out, we talked about on the backstretch, but I'd say that you'd have these guys come down probably the next 3 or 4 laps here.
And again, for anybody that's curious about why the 92's by himself, Baker just mentioned it, obviously staying out. Expected that we were going to get another caution, but we just didn't. Now, this does indicate that obviously the leaders are going to have to pit here relatively soon as, oh, whoa. Tell you what, John Ward, he got in and out pretty quick there. Did he ever go to his box, Baker? I think, did he miss his pit stall here? I think he did. John Ward missed his pit stall, and now the concern is, does he have enough fuel to make it around again?
I don't know if he has enough fuel to make it around. He's going to be very, very close to get to it, and once he does, he's going to have to clutch and coast to get there.
Keep an eye on that, as up front, they're still 3 wide, so clearly a lot of drivers not too worried about pit stops. And whoa, Alex Hill trying to go 4 wide on Colin Bowden. Is this going to work out okay? For now it does. Briar LaPrade, Garrett Maines both slide down, and all of a sudden, this is now going to make Colin Bowden the awkward man out in that number 17 BuildSubmarines.com machine. And so as they stay 4 wide, Ethan Eckert up top trying everything he can to push a couple guys clear, but it's just not going to work. I mean, it seems like that 3rd lane is kind of a momentum killer for the 4th lane unless everybody's lined up. And, man, that is a tough break for the 87, who it looked like was going to the front. No more as Miles Bagley now going to fall back to the 41. And he'll get a push from Stallneck here, but still 3 wide. No sign of pit stops just yet here, Baker. And if we go all the way back to the John Ward scenario, looks like he did indeed make it to his box and took tires as well, but this cost him a whole bunch of time.
And you see the top lane starting to roll. Ethan Eckert pushing Colin Bowden, who was 4 wide there for a moment. Logan York on the outside of Miles Bagley. Miles Bagley last week, he cashed in one of his first money races with PGR, and he's up front trying to run and finish it out with another good finish in the money, and he's 4th in line there on the top. Garrett Maines hops up to that middle line. It just seems like it's dealer's choice with this car. You really don't know what push you're going to get at the end of the day here. It could be steady like you just saw. I mean, Garrett pulled up in front of Eberhardt with barely any room to be clear, and the push was even and it was square. But then there's other times where it seems like people have plenty of time to line up, square up, and they line up and square up, and it almost hooks them. So it just seems like it's the luck of the draw with this car.
Absolutely. Well, there's still 3x3 right now for the most part, but up front, the first 2 or 3 lines, 2 or 3 rows, still 2x2. And now Garrett Maines, the highest running of your Sweet 16 drivers. And you might be wondering, well, how do I know who's versing who? Well, there's actually a bracket that shows you the matchups here. Before we get to that, I do want to take everybody over to the screen that shows you what the payouts are looking like here tonight. We'll go ahead and wait an extra lap here just to see if anybody decides to pit this time. They may or they may not. Let's see what they do off of turn number 4. If they don't, bring it up, and they're actually coming up on a lapper. But
a couple pit stops here for sure.
I was going to say 3 wide. I don't know if the outside's going to pit, and it looks like nobody's going to pit. All right, so everybody stays out at least 1 more lap. That'll give us an opportunity here to bring up a couple of graphics that we want to show you. First up, here's what the payouts are looking like here tonight, and this is, well, kind of a big deal for a few reasons. I mean, first of all, it's always a lot of money that you're racing for when you're over here at PGR, but then obviously tonight a little bit special for the drivers in the bracket. If they can cash, that means not only are they winning money for the race, but they're also advancing themselves, not only advancing themselves in the bracket, but they're also obviously winning money in the race. So kind of that win-win scenario, if you will. But man, and give me just a moment right now as I'm trying to sort out one of the issues that I'm having with some of the data we're showing. So just take a look at the payouts there as we'll see if we get any pit stops here this time around. Trying to figure out why the bracket is not popping up. And so as the cars all work off turn 4, it looks like a 1-car peel off further back, but Baker, I think that was about it. All right, so here we go. Payouts, 300 to first, 230 to second, 200 to third, 150 to fourth, 130 to fifth, and kind of the new thing that was started a few months back, actually, is the highest finisher with no PGR wins that finishes outside the money is going to get $55. So kind of a race for the money, even for the guys that finish outside of the money. Now for that bracket, you're going to see it pop up in your screen right there, and I know it's a little out of shape right now. We'll go ahead and make this smaller. And I know it had a brief issue here before we started the race, but look at some of the names on here as we'll make it a little bit bigger for your viewing. Up top, I mean, the first matchup, Garrett Maines versus Brian Hennings. I could see that going either way, Baker. And then you look at the next one, Matt Lee, Axel Smith. We already know who won. Daniel Falkingham versus Michael Trescaro is. Here's pit stops.
Oh, it's huge. There's so many cars coming down pit road right now. And these are different to the trucks. They lock up pretty hard.
And yeah, a lot of people on the brakes. Did anybody spin, though? Not yet. One in the grass. It was Josh Gambrone, but as many as came in all get out equally as clean. First round of pit stops underway as we continue to take a look at the bracket. Christopher McCullough versus Matthew Patton. Landon Velicky versus Colin Bowden. And there's Kyler Wynn versus Brock Westmerlin. Mark Von Dell, one of the bracket busters, going against Freddie Bosnez here tonight. And then Jeff Merck versus Cody Nagels. So that's what you're working with, Baker. The strategy play, I feel like it's got to vary based off who you're versing, but certainly going to get interesting as we get to the end of this race tonight, as it seems like it always does. But as for that first round of pit stops, looks like everybody did pretty good. Let's see how this next group can do.
Yes, next group going to come down here. 1, 2, looks like all of them coming down pit road here this time.
Yeah, the rest of the drivers who had not pit on that first stop, and Logan York leading him down in the Microsoft XL paint scheme. Can't say I've seen that one before. Logan York making those colors look pretty good on his number 02. The 74, Brian Hennings. Ooh, brief mistake right there. Oh, bigger mistake for Hennings is it looked like he was either too far forward or too far left. He gets it corrected now, but obviously that's going to cost him some time now as he tries to work his way out of the box. You see Nathan Harper, though, now. Looks like he got a pretty good stop, and so as he leaves, it'll be Logan York that leads everybody out and has a lead by a pretty good margin. Here comes Daniel Falkingham, meanwhile, roaring through the tri-oval to complete lap 28. Excuse me, that'll actually be lap 27 for this group, and now they're going to quickly split out 2 by 2. Interesting to see Garrett fan out as they're actually trying to go past all these cars that just pit. And I think the majority of them, Baker, are either going to be able to pick up the draft or they're going to be close enough where they'll pick up the draft here in just about a lap or two. And there you go. They're going to split 3 wide around Logan York in the 0-2. And so sure enough, the group that pit first gets the advantage here on the first round of pit stops.
Up in the sky cam here, checking all these cars going around. They're kind of separated into 2 different packs. You got the main pack with about 15 cars here as they approach a lap car, but great pit stops from everyone around there.
So far, so good. We'll have to see how this group forms up, how many cars in total will be in it. But again, there was no stage break. We're not expecting any cautions unless it were for an incident, as the 41 Matthew Stallneck is going to get passed by the pack on the inside as well. The 31 of Flanagan and Bowden get together right there as they work through 1 and 2. Bowden's going to go down to the middle. That'll hang Flanagan out. They'll have to jump in line behind Kyler Wynn. Here comes Logan York. Looks like he's getting pushed right now, I believe, from Stephen Miles. And then the group just behind them looks like is going to tag on as well. That's Ken McCullough Jr., Nash Brambilla, who had that near incident earlier. And by the way, how about that beautiful-looking Caesars Sportbook paint scheme for Nash Brambilla? Saw in the chat earlier that that's a 760 graphics paint scheme. And that is Heath Job getting the job done for that car. So if you're ever looking for a paint scheme, go check out 760 graphics. They'll get you hooked up. It'll be 29 of 55 laps complete as they cross the line this time. And speaking of this pack, about 6, probably looks like about 10 cars at most deep, maybe a little bit less. And there's the other big pack, which right now is being led by the 42 of Aubrey Thompson. The lead pusher in that is Brian Hennings. That's the pack that's really got to go to work because they're just under 4 seconds behind the last car catching this lead pack, which is Jared Haynes. So they're not out of reach just yet, Baker, but it can get out of hand pretty quickly, although this front pack going 3x3, if they stay lined up back there, I think it's certainly still possible.
Yeah, the 2x2, it's a little bit faster in the Xfinity car to go 2x2, 3x3 is a little bit slower. So you'll see them maybe try and track them down if there's big moves, big side drafts happening left and right, people running out of temps. If they can manage their temps in this second pack, they can make it happen.
Certainly can. The Xfinity car a lot smoother. I would say it's easier to get into a rhythm of pushing with this car than it is maybe say a next gen or something where you have to be so much more aggressive when it comes to the pushing and shoving, but still 3x3 up front. You forget that we still have another green flag pit stop as John Ward going to lose another lap. So he now goes 2 down. A day that was going good as he found himself up front has now turned bad for the 92 of John Ward, and he is not the only one a lap down. Steve Sizemore, the only car so far that retired from the race due to the wreck. Well, I take that back. James Wagner as well. He had initially came back out, but looks like since has retired that race car. But John Ward, as I mentioned, currently sitting a lap down. He is in the 43rd
now he is 2 laps
position.
Down. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're right.
2 laps down now.
2 laps down. And so he's not the only one, though. As I mentioned, Nick Seipel, he's a lap down. And Matthew Stallneck, David Flanagan, a couple of the other cars that are a lap down right now, fighting for that lucky dog spot if we were to get a caution, which Baker, I mean, it looks very possible still, because they're still 3x3 and even a little bit of beating and banging right there between Eberhardt and Falkingham as they got into turn number 1. How about the 19, though? Briar LaPrade, another one of your Coke Series drivers. Haven't got to see him out a ton in PGR, but here he is tonight and showing you why he's a Coke Series driver out front, leading the way. And as he stays door by door with Falkingham, and man, Garrett, big shove to Falkingham, almost got him turned around, but for Briar LaPrade, I mean, oh, you know what? We're going to hold that thought. Instead, we're going to go 4 wide. How about Kyler Wynn up top with Logan York through 3 and 4?
And they're 4 wide for the lead pack. They're 3 wide for the second pack. There's racing all over the track going on, but up front here, Kyler Wynn getting a good push. Stallneck, he's into the back bumper of Logan York. 4 wide coming to the stripe. Who's going to lead this lap? Push from the middle. Looks like going to be Kyler Wynn on the outside. To put that in your back pocket for later if it comes down to it. We can go green, get some 4 wide action, but it's still 4 wide. Stallneck, he's one of those lap cars pushing through Logan York, trying to get that third line rolling. Logan York, he's going to run out of temps. It's going to really pull back probably to 3 wide maybe. But no, they just keep going 4 wide. Kyler Wynn yet again getting a push on the outside lane.
Yeah, you don't need me to tell you that Logan York has no problem with going 4 wide anytime, any place. And he's going to push Kyler Wynn clear that third lane, but Eberhardt gets loose. Can he save it? Eberhardt's trying to hold on here. The 90 does save it. Now the 12 of Ethan Eckert's out of shape. He also saves it in the third near miss. Ends up in a big save. Oh, my goodness. Ethan Eckert and Daniel Eberhardt. Are you kidding me? What a save from those two. as Eckert's going to stick with the lead pack here. And it looks like for Daniel Eberhard, he's also going to stick with the lead pack. Now, those aren't two of your Sweet 16 drivers, but certainly two of the big hitters. And man, it just keeps getting closer and closer to being a caution, Baker, but still no dice. These guys are finding a way to keep it green.
Man, I cannot believe I am at a loss for words. This save that Daniel Eberhard just put together. He's on 900. He's not running 210. I mean, unbelievable. Ethan Eckert, he is running 210, so a little bit less credit to him. But Daniel Eberhard, what a save.
Yeah, what a save indeed. That's the equivalent of he basically saved that car the same way you would have to in real life. No assists on that one. Nicely done as the 41. Looking through the middle now. That's Matthew Stallneck. Flanagan just getting split left and right. Finally going to have to go to the back of this group. And he might try to take a breather and regroup. Adam says Howard 34th and behind. 30 seconds behind. And that's referring to Brock Westmoreland and company. Well, tell you what, Adam, that's part of the way the draft works. The bigger of a group of cars you're in, the more draft you get and the faster you run. So this group back here, not as many cars. They fell off that lead draft earlier. So they've been running a lot of laps now without the draft of that lead pack. They've been slowly but surely losing time. And all that time is accumulated. And, well, that's basically why they currently find themselves 30-plus seconds behind the lead pack. Now, as for that second group that we've been kind of keeping an eye on here, and if they're making any ground up, currently being led by Aubrey Thompson and Trevor Osranoff, one of our drivers carrying an onboard view here tonight. It looks like the gap between them and the leaders, unfortunately, has not closed. In fact, if anything, it's separated even more. It's almost 6 seconds now. So they've not been able to make up ground, but, I mean, Baker, you alluded to it earlier. I think part of the reason, obviously, is because they were 3 wide at one point. Still 2 wide, but, I mean, the leaders are doing more of the same. It's just, you got to feel like it's bigger pack, more energy, just running faster lap times overall.
Oh my God! You got to go back to the tri-oval. Another huge block from Kyler Wynn to Logan York, and I don't know how they saved it yet again up front.
Well, if we had saves like this each and every week, we'd be losing our minds up here in the broadcast booth. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this just doesn't happen. These guys, some weeks they wreck all the time, other weeks it's green all the way, but you don't see weeks like this. Logan York, there's the big block. Stallneck gives him a shot, and it gets Logan York all sorts of sideways. I mean, it has been the round of saves here tonight, along with the Sweet 16. Phenomenal racing, though, up front. They have been 3 wide for majority of the race. Some 4 wide as well. If you want to see any more of that, make sure you check out Super Speedway Kings tomorrow night. You will see a lot of the same drivers in that race. And then, of course, bring it right back here to PGR next week for the Elite 8 in the 3rd round of March Madness. We'll get to narrow things down just a little bit more as we get closer to the championship matchup. The 39 of Falking back to the inside. Whoa! Alex Hill, are they going to save it again? Yes, they all save it yet again. Alex Hill got sideways. The 210 steering works as his best friend, and he holds on yet again. Was this another push gone wrong? And Baker, how did they save it again?
They can't keep getting away with this up front. It's blowing my mind that these guys are able to save this car. But another great save from Alex again on 210, able to save it a little bit easier, but still a tough save in this car. Unbelievable. And as we're looking at the bracket right now, as it stands, Christopher McCullough, he's in that second pack. He's leading over Matthew Patton. He'll be out in front. Axel Smith and Matt Lee. Axel Smith right around that second pack as well with Matt Lee. They are in a battle together. Brian Hennings, Garrett Maines.
Garrett Maines.
I'm going to update that later, but go ahead.
I was going to say, with Garrett Maines on the outside, you wondered if Falkingham would jump up. Sure enough, he does. By the way, John Ward did blend into this lead pack, so he'll be fighting to at least try to get one of those laps back, depending on when and how the caution falls. But with just 18 laps to go here at Talladega, one caution to note of so far, and that has been it. So as the field now gets back to 2x2, lining up for what could be the final green flag pit stop, we're going to take a quick break, so maybe our only chance to. We'll be right back. Stick with us at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got
The monkey has prime!
this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time! Oh, that's good.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, the Sweet 16 of March Madness here 2025 for PGR eSports and the Intimidator Superspeedway Series. While we were gone, maybe the least aggressive racing that we have seen all night. That's how crazy things have been. But Matthew Staldeck up top, that is a lap car trying to get his lap back the hard way here. But that third line seems to be fading here in Baker. Part of the reason for that is we think pit stops are on the horizon. The window's open. Question is, when do drivers pit?
Yeah, I'm looking in probably 2 or 3 laps. I think that you're going to see this second pack probably pit a little bit earlier, see if they can close a little bit of that delta in and try and reel in some of these leaders. You're going to see Trevor Osbornoff, Devin Ray come down this time from that second pack, but you see everyone else lining up in the front pack too wide. They are going to be thinking about pit stops as well.
And here you go, that first pack, no pit stops. Here's the second pack. Osbornoff, Thompson, and a whole bunch of the other ones are going to pull down here for their final service. Let's see, can they all get in clean? Everybody trying to drive it in deep. Whoa, watch out back. Man, Kenny Reel driving it in deep, and it does stick for him. As everybody in that second group that pits is pretty good. Devin Ray in that group as well, by the way. Good to see him out here racing tonight. And if we get a caution, we're going to see the Jack Shack, some heavy hitters up front. They're going to have to catch that caution break
pit
first.
stops up front. They're going to be pitting this time. A bunch of people are going to be pitting this time.
We got eyes on it. Here we go as they work into turn 3. Still 3 wide here, so I think most of the pit stops that we're going to see are going to obviously be from that bottom lane. We'll see if anybody from the middle or the top somehow try to pit here. That doesn't work out well usually, and here we go. Falkingham's going to lead him in. Garrett Maines will go down, as does Briar LaPrade, Cody Nagels, Veliky, Kyler Wynn, Alex Hill. And, Alex gets in a little deep. He gets into Veliky. Eckert gets into him. He gets into Nagels. And all the contact, I think everybody's okay if nobody got a speeding penalty.
I don't really think anyone is going to get a speeding penalty. They kind of got back all the way down. Kyler Wynn, he had to almost come to a complete stop to finish the delta there. I think he will be fine, but everyone else should be okay. But you're going to see this next group: Colin Bowden, Josh McCullough, Nathan Harper, Kenny McCullough, Chris McCullough, and Logan York leading this line going this time.
And that group that just pit, fuel only was the call. I got to think it's going to be the same here for Logan York and company, the group that just pit, or that's getting ready to pit rather. And they should, in theory, maybe have to take a little less fuel. We'll see if that helps them close the gap up at all. Now they're going to all fan out. Can they get in as clean as that first group did? A lot of lockups. Whoa, watch out back. And, York's going to get sideways. But he also saves it. I think he did. It was close, but it looked like he did. It's just a matter of if he got a speeding penalty. We'll watch here as he gets into his box. If he sits there for longer than what it would usually take for tires and gas, it means he got a penalty. As Colin Bowden pulls into his box without any issues. That is, by the way, the not former, but current and former Coke driver. And so Bowden here as he works his way out of the box. Looks like York didn't get a penalty. Man, wow. How about that for Logan York? And now let's see how these guys are going to blend out with the lead pack, being led by Falkingham, who is rocketing through the tri-oval. And this is about the same time, Baker, during the last stop where we saw Garrett lead a group up to the second lane. And that's when things got aggressive. We'll see if they do that again. It looks like they go into turn 1. No move yet up to that second lane.
And to move up to that second lane, I go back up to the sky cam, looking at where all these packs are. It looks like you got about 3 packs separated here. You got the lap cars that are being caught by the leaders, and then the second group coming out with 3 cars to their outside. They should be able to track everyone down here. There's just a couple cars that are really off the pace.
Yeah, that was Bosnez, Flanagan, and Steven Miles in that second pack trying to track down your leaders. And then for that second pack, as you mentioned, well, there's Jared Haynes, by the way, in the 7, and then you've got, looks like the 87 of Miles Bagley just in front of him. Kyler Wynn back by himself, kind of on an island here as he's trying to draft up to the 07, rather the 7, and then the 87. And then Devin Ray, Brian Hennings, Trevor Osronoff. A lot of Jack Shack drivers caught in some of these secondary packs, but for Devin Ray and Osronoff, they're going to have to get linked up quick. They're going to have to try to go like there's no tomorrow to catch these leaders. But, I mean, 7 seconds back, Baker. And even more than that is, whoa, up front, everybody's splitting all sorts of ways. Did we almost have a big one here off turn 2? Yes, we did.
Oh, my God, and they staged it again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they're doing it. I really don't. You would think we've got some sort of jinx up here in the booth that usually works the opposite way where they'd be wrecking all the time. But Bowden, it looks to me, Baker, like he just tries to kind of force himself a gap. I don't know if he was trying to bully Alex Hill up a little bit, but doesn't work. Instead, it gets York and Hill collected. They both go into the wall, as does Eckert. Actually, York keeps it out of the wall. I got to think Alex Hill is not going to think too kindly of that one.
Yeah, not going to think too kindly of it. Looked like Colin Bowden got into it there. But up front, you got Daniel Falkingham there yet again. I'm sure he's upset knowing that he doesn't have Triscaro in here to race against for that spot. But again, like we talked about, he's going for gold here, just going for the money.
And up top, Cody Nagels jumped out of line. He saw the run from Garrett Maines. Big shot. Nagels is going to run into the back of Falkingham, and those are really big pushes to taking these Xfinity cars. These guys able to handle it, though. And so up front now, we're going to be coming to just single digits in terms of laps to go. How long before we see the 4th lane develop? We've seen the 3rd lane tonight work, and we've seen the 4th lane work. It's just a matter of when they start it. Whoa, Logan York almost gets turned out of line yet again. They all save it. Mark it up as what? The 10th save of the night? Everybody keeps it together. Still 3 wide, and here comes Landon Velicky for the lead.
Oh, man. There goes wrecking out back into the wall. 2, 3 cars.
Caution is out. They went green for so long, and they finally wreck him up on one of the near saves. Nash Brambilla's in it. Trying to figure out who else was involved, and really I can't find any right now. I'll have to go back and look at it here. Nash Brambilla and that 760 Graphics 23 Caesar Sportsbook machine. He's got some damage to at least the right front. Can't tell where all else he's got the damage at. Let's see. See it on the right front. Looks like that's pretty much it for Brambilla, so I don't think it's race ending for him. It's certainly going to be a bit of a hassle, if you will, but watch this is, oh, the 3 of Matthew Patton. That's where it's all kind of, I don't know if that's where it starts, but that's kind of the thing that's going to ultimately lead to the caution right here is, so you've got, in fact, before I say anything, let's go to the chopper view. All right, so here we go. You've got Matthew Patton in the 3 car on the inside, and here comes Alex Hill, great big run up in the middle, and man, out of nowhere, David Flanagan just dives to the middle. You know, Baker, I think Flanagan had a run right there, and I just don't think he ever realized that Alex Hill was down there, or he just completely misjudged how far down he was going when he splits the gap, and just completely doors the passenger side of Alex Hill, and that immediately sends him down the track into Matthew Patton. Matthew Patton's going to spin out up the racetrack. Nash Bramilla has to dodge. That's what sends him to the outside wall, but really, at the end of the day, I think it was only 2 cars, so that, again, that could have been a whole lot worse for a lot of drivers. I think a lot of them get away with it, but obviously another tough break for Nash Brambilla, who's made a couple of big saves here tonight, but being involved in this incident is certainly not going to help his chances.
And not going to help his chances at all. But the chances it does help here is Falkingham up front, Pratt, everyone.
Absolutely, but here we go. Couple more times before we go back live here. This incident brought out the yellow flag, and back this up for you here, as I know it's not on the best angle. So we already saw the contact for Matthew Patton here, but let's go back, or I want to go a little bit further up for Nash Brambilla and see his point of view through this. Is he had a bit of a unique angle watching the wreck happen and having to dodge it. As you see Flanagan come down, doors Hill. Hill gets into Patton. Patton spins around. Brambilla dodges him. I mean, that was a crazy dodge by Nash, but then obviously the unfortunate result is by dodging him, he gets in to the outside wall in the process, and you obviously worry that may have caused some suspension damage for that race car, and that's kind of what it's looking like just from that general view. As he gets onto the straightaway, that wheel is still pretty far offset to the left. I know some drivers run it offset, but I don't know if they run it that much offset. So Brambilla maybe going to have to go in and fix a little bit more damage than what we initially thought. And then going back to the spin here for Matthew Patton, I think he overall saves it after he gets tagged initially. But 77 goes for a spin, spins again, just about, but then rolls right at the last second to keep it out of the outside wall. So good job there for Patton, and I think overall pretty minimal damage for the 77 of Alex Hill. Whatever damage he had was mostly from that contact between him and Bowden, which obviously did not bring out the caution. Well, you said it was a big break for LaPrade and some of these other guys, Baker, but I think it's an even bigger break for that second pack and all the Jack Shack drivers, because they have second life now and another chance at it. So we'll have to see if things play out in their favor. Well, now that we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, I mean, we already showed you what that bracket looked like earlier, but Baker, we can still mention, obviously, some of the matchups to watch. And for Matthew Patton right there, getting caught up in that incident, he was going against Christopher McCullough, but now finds himself in the 10th spot. So for Chris, that was a big break. I mean, in a nice way. Obviously, he's not necessarily hoping Patton wrecks in a mean way, but certainly helps his chances out as he's now well inside position. So that's the favorite for that matchup at the moment. Landon Veliky obviously leading his matchup as he is currently the leader. Cody Nagels has a pretty good gap between himself and Jeff Merck. But, you know, Baker, we've seen this before where it's almost a decision. If you choose to stay up front and run for the money here at the end, you risk getting caught in a wreck, and meanwhile, the guy you're going head-to-head with could just be completely in the back with damage, taking it easy. And if you get wrecked, he automatically gets it. So how do you weigh that decision in your head here of going for it versus trying to be safe enough to advance to the next round?
You know, I think you just look at the gap where you're at. If you're outside 10 spots, get yourself to the bottom of the track. Hope that they don't advance up there on the top side, and just ride and wait for the wrecks. Because now we're at the point of the race where it's this is going to be a barn burner brawl slugfest from everyone around here. If you're looking at the brackets now, Brock Westmoreland, he is a lap down. Kyler Wynn in a safe position as of now. Mark Fondell, Freddie Bazinez. Freddie's up in 13th. Mark Fondell, I think he is a lap down as well. He is 5 laps down. He disconnected for internet, so you can call him safe. Freddie on to the next round. Cody and Merck. You got Cody Nagels up in the 5th spot. He's been running really well with Jeff Merck down towards the bottom of the running order with Matthew Lee and Matthew Lee, Axel Smith right next to each other. So that's one matchup to watch. Landon Veliky went up to the 3rd lane. It paid off. He got the caution. He's up in front of Colin Bowden, who's buried on the bottom side. What will Colin Bowden do to try and get up through the field to run to this Elite 8?
It's going to be exciting to see who's got what it takes to advance through March Madness. And looks like I was trying to figure out what happened here. The chat for me just completely glitched. Well, it looks like series owner Michael Triscaro has posted a Q&A. Triscaro obviously not in town here tonight. That's why he did that race the other night with Falkingham, but still out in the chat sporting. So we appreciate seeing Michael out here. And by the way, obviously advancing to the next round. Good news there, but came oh so close to getting his first PGR win just a week ago. Made one move that he felt like he shouldn't have coming to the line, and sometimes that's the difference. We'll see if that kind of a move plays into who wins this race tonight. But I know Landon Veliky, Baker, has said he's never been able to win a race that I've been broadcasting. So we'll have to see how it works for him here tonight. If he doesn't win it, he's going to be yelling at me. If he does win it, he's going to be yelling how excited he is. Nonetheless, let's see what the 62 can do. He's got 2 Coke Series drivers surrounding him. Briar LaPrade behind him. Daniel Falkingham to his outside. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. Just a handful of laps to go here at Talladega, and it's a good restart for the 62 of Veliky. He jumps up to the top as they cross the line. Baker, that was a little early. Was he okay right there?
I pushed him back down to the bottom here. He's very, very close. He established his position back towards the bottom, so don't let him do that. Come back up top, get a push on the outside.
Yeah, that's a close call, though, for Veliky. Got to be careful at the end here, but now back up top. No 3rd lane up front yet. The 3rd lane's going to develop out back first. And then as the momentum starts to work its way towards the front, that's when you're going to see more drivers jumping out, trying to make a block. But here goes Colin Bowden. And as he jumps to the outside, he'll be joined by Cavalry's Logan York. Massive save on the bottom. That checks him up back to Ethan Eckert, Freddie Bosnez. Meanwhile, back up top, that third lane is looking, and man, Logan York is all over the place trying to save that race car.
I don't know if what's going on with these cars. If the right rear is just shredded, no one's taking the tire for it yet. Landon Veliky getting pushed offset from Falkingham. He's got to drop to the bottom. Does in front of Brian LaPrade. They're stacking up at the bottom. Cody Nagels into Steven Miles into David Eberhardt. Oh my gosh, they all save it again. And then Kenneth McCullough, where did he come from? Colin Bowden now in a big battle with Landon Veliky. We talked about what can he do from that bottom position. He's able to get Kenneth McCullough clear and almost clear himself in front of the person that he's competing with in the bracket. Kenneth McCullough to the lead in turn 3.
Well, Ken McCullough Jr. with the Burger King paint scheme. Whoa, he almost gets turned from the lead. Now he's going to get turned. Veliky can't quite check up enough. They're going to wreck out front. Falkingham gets turned. There goes Ken McCullough Jr. Oh, Cody Nagels hard into the inside wall. That's going to change the bracket up. Nathan Harper's in it. Oh, my goodness. Carnage everywhere. Down below the apron, Nagels is destroyed, and if Jeff Merck's car is clean, then he basically will have just punched himself a ticket to the next round of March Madness. Heartbreak, though, for Nagels. Richard Elliott got spun around in that. Ken McCullough Jr. down the pits. He's going to have damage to fix. And, oh, man, that is just... It's just the way it seems to go for some of these guys that, you know, they get up here, Baker, and the ones that have the bad luck, it seems like it always ends the same way, right as they get in the best position they can be in. It ends in a wreck, and for Ken McCullough Jr., well, he didn't quite have it his way right there, regardless of what the back of the car says. 3 laps to go, though, with caution out. We're going to be headed to overtime. So with that, let's go back here and see if we can figure this one out a little bit. As it all starts with Ken McCullough Jr. getting loose right here. Let's see. Watch this again. All right, so here you go. The 03's on the bottom. Here comes Veliky for a push. Now, Baker, we've said this before. Pushing in these cars in the corner is really, really sketchy. But if you're going to do it, you have to be so smooth with the contact, and you have to be lined up perfect.
And, I mean, he's lined up pretty perfect, if I'm looking at this right. He's square. He's
I
lining
agree.
up square as well. It may be a slam draft, which is hard.
Exactly what I was thinking.
I think the slam draft is what gets it, but I can't really call that on Landon there because, you know, he's doing everything that he can pushing here, and he'd be fine. I don't know. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks pretty square. You can maybe argue just the slightest, and I mean slightest bit to the left, but overall, yes, very square hit. I agree. I think it's just, you know, in the corner, the cars are a little bit sketchier, and when you slam draft like that, even on the straights, sometimes it can be dicey, and it didn't get Ken McCullough Jr. out of shape to the point of no return, but it got him loose. And then as he gets up the track to save it right here, Landon's trying to get lined up again, but, you know, difference in speed there. Landon gets him just a little offset right there. That time, as he does get him offset, gets him a little bit more out of shape, and right there, now Ken McCullough Jr. does save it as he goes below the apron, but unfortunately, up top, they have separate issues here. Does Veliky go up after? Let's see. You see Ken McCullough Jr. go down. Veliky's trying to sneak by. Briar LaPrade going to get into the right rear. And then that sends Landon up the racetrack into Falkingham. And down he goes. And watch this hit here. As they slide down the racetrack, Ken McCullough Jr. gets collected. Falkingham goes down. Devin Ray, I think actually at the last second, Devin Ray with contact to the inside wall. He almost missed it. Just couldn't quite find a way to do it right at the last second there. But, you know, I will say, Baker, I think that, again, everybody got lucky that Falkingham spins down the racetrack. If he spins back up, I mean, that collects half the field. And a tough break.
I'm looking at,
go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but looking at the Arca break towards the back, Sterling Dees drives through Flanagan not once but twice and takes himself and Axel Smith out.
Let's see if we can actually see that. Well, yeah, you see towards the back there, Axel Smith, David Flanagan looking for Sterling Tice right here, who I believe, let's see, is that the 43? So you see Flanagan checking up, gets ran into by the 43 of Sterling Tice, and again, and then, yeah, as you see, it cleans out Axel Smith. Oh, man, and Richard Elliott there at the last second trying to sneak by. Unfortunately, gets turned around himself. gets turned around by somebody else. Spins by himself, though, after he gets hit. So he doesn't get any further damage than the initial contact. But watch this. I think the biggest, I guess the word would be the biggest loser in this, Baker, has got to be that number 6 machine, Cody Nagels, with the Wagner's Welding sponsor on, because he was in position to not only be fighting for money, but advance to the next round. Not anymore. This contact for Nagels, I think that's going to end his chances here. I mean, it was a big hit, Baker, and I mean, obviously that car destroyed. Now that he's out of it, Jeff Merck, all Merck had to do was log an extra lap if the 6 doesn't come back out, and I don't really see any way he does after that. That's a huge hit for Cody Nagels. As that car eventually comes back up. By the way, that was who ended up collecting Richard Elliott, as I do want to give you one more look at this here before we go back live from our drone cam. Watch it again. There's Falkingham, spins down, a couple cars up, but no issues for anybody up there, at least not that we noted. And there's Cody Nagels with that big impact. And just to show you what I'm talking about, by the way, that was Sterling Tice in the 43, just to verify that we had that number correct. But watch this again for the rest of the field. It all goes up top. Stephen Miles, Osbornoff, brief contact there, but then that was it. And everybody's going to fan out, give each other a little room as they all hold on to it. All right, so back up front we go. It's going to be a 2-lap shootout. It's going to be exciting, too. But up front, Colin Bowden leading the way. Christopher McCullough second, with Nathan Harper third, Trevor Osbornoff fourth, and Stephen Miles rounding out your top 5. Let's remind you of the overtime rules here really quickly. It'll be a 2-lap shootout to decide it. If the leader takes the white flag and the race is official, we'll race it back. But if we get a caution before the leader takes the white flag, we'll rack them up, try it again. We've got 3 attempts total. So we'll have to see how things play out here. By the way, in the Q&A, I saw that Big Roost asked, Mike, you got any advice for somebody getting ready to be a first-time dad? And I'm not sure if Mike was able to see that or not. So if you're listening, Mike, that was Big Roost's question. So if you want to answer him, let him know in the chat. Nonetheless, here we go. On the inside, Colin Bowden. He's been a factor in PGR before, Baker. Can he do it here again tonight? Time to find out. Christopher McCullough trying to take McCullough Motorsports back to victory lane in the Intimidator Superspeedway Series. And here we go. Oh, one already checking up. That's not going to work. And they're going to turn out back. 2, 3. 18's around. That's Freddie Bosnez. And more trouble here is we're going to head back to driving school and try to figure out how to shift. Looks like that was what the issue was on that one. We'll have to see what happened, but I believe that was at least my initial guess, just based off of how quickly the checkup was on the outside. I think Bosnez getting the worst of that one because obviously he's going to lose all of his track position. And for Freddie, he was one of the drivers in this bracket going against Mark Von Dell. So we'll have to see how that affects him in comparison to where Mark Von Dell was running. Looks like Von Dell right now finds himself not on the lead lap, so Freddie's still okay for now. Okay, let's see what happens here. Go back to right as it all started, and I think it's going to be Aubrey Thompson in the 42. That's going to miss the shift here. Let's see. We'll go back to where Aubrey was running here. And Aubrey had been having a good night. In fact, stellar job getting all the track position that he's gotten so far. Up 28 positions from where he started this race at, and then right here, let's see. Well, doesn't miss a gear, Baker. Instead, he's just in the wrong gear completely. And he doesn't even realize it either. And so, unfortunately, that's what causes the checkup. Now, I've heard of missing a gear, Baker, and usually I understand sometimes, too, when somebody starts in the wrong gear, you usually see them recognize it pretty quick and then try to shift down. But, I mean, Aubrey Thompson just never did. That's an odd one for me. Again, I'm not used to seeing that. Usually, these guys have the audio up enough where you can kind of hear your gearing, and if the car's not screaming on a restart, you kind of, just as a natural driver's instinct, realize that something's not right. But for Aubrey here, just don't know if he didn't quite realize it quick enough or if there was a separate issue. But yeah, Baker, he's definitely in too high of a gear right there as they get going.
I think something's wrong with the scoring going on right now.
Check that out in just a minute. But I mean, Baker, I know you had to hand out probably fault at that one? I mean, what did you see on that? Looked like, was he just late on a gear? Man, a couple of big hits right there, too. Wow. The 87, Miles Bagley, the driver who we were talking about, had been putting together a pretty good night involved in that. Yikes. Tough break for Miles Bagley getting turned into that inside wall. He actually had some heavy contact here as part of this. You see Alex Hill and a few others get turned around. Aubrey Thompson goes for a slide that saves it. Bam, there's a big hit for the 87, and then 18 and a few others that all pile in. See if we can maybe watch this one more time here from turn 1 cam before we go back live and set up another attempt at an overtime. And for a restart wreck, again, collects probably about 4 or 5 of them. Kyler Wynn in 82 also gets some front nose damage to his Chevy Camaro as part of that. So as we do go back live now, at least on my end, looks like scoring has corrected itself. Colin Bowden currently leading the way. Nathan Harper second, with Christopher McCullough third, Miles Bagley. And I see the problem now because Miles Bagley, well, there he is. So he actually is up there right now, but we'll have to see what happens. And so Baker obviously referring to scoring being an issue with something in iRacing. Is looks like in the chat, Fesper says we'll have to field a lap down because they all didn't take the green before the yellow. So it'll be messy. Hopefully they give their laps back. Yeah, they certainly would, Fesper. And that is why you heard Baker saying that. Trying to get things corrected before we do go back green here. So a little bit of late race drama with a restart accident that has now led to a little bit of scoring issues. But again, we'll all get corrected here before we go back green. It'll be a 2-lap shootout, overtime attempt number 2. And up front, Colin Bowden again is your race leader. Harper second, Christopher McCullough third. Trevor Osronoff now up to 4th, and Stephen Miles currently rounding out your top 5 as the field crosses the line this time. We'll see quickly here if they get the 1-to-go signal. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You're watching March Madness 2025 for the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series. We're in the second round of March Madness, the Sweet 16. And so it looks like the lights have gone off on the pace car, but obviously still seeing some of those cars a lap down. Now, at this point, it may be accurate because it looks like Josh Gambro in 35th, the first car a lap down. That is getting pretty far to the back. So scoring may have resolved itself, and if it has, then obviously the lights will stay off on the pace car, and we will go back green this time. Well, as we do get ready to grab the restart here, trying to see if we had anybody that was generally near the front sitting in one of the Discord channels that we could maybe interview to see how they're feeling here for what's going to be a pretty crazy restart near the end. And it looks like, well, I don't see anybody right there. If we go a little bit further back, you got Maines, York, LaPrade. Yeah, nobody inside your top 10 that I can see at least is in any of the PGR channels except for Logan York, who's in 8th. He's had a pretty crazy day. Let's see how he's feeling so far. Hey, Logan, this is Austin and Baker up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Well, just before you get restarted here, man, I mean, you have probably made the most saves we've seen one driver make in a race since PGR started. It has been wild. Tell us about the racing so far and what you expect here these last 2 laps.
Yeah, it's been a pretty bad race, to be honest. The beginning was good, but this ending is trash. I have a lot of rear end damage. If you want to look at that, I'm not going to win this race. If I make one bad move or get bumped, I'm going to go sideways because of all my rear end damage. So I'm just hoping to watch a good end for those guys that have a chance.
Well, you've already saved it so many times that who knows? We'll have to see. I think you could save it again, but hey, good luck the rest of the way, Logan. We'll see if we're talking to you at the end of this thing. There you go. We'll slide Logan back down to his teammates that he's working with here tonight. Josh Gambrone and Tucker McClendon hanging out in the Discord as well. All right, here we go. Bowden, Harper up front. Baker, you ready to go?
Yeah, we got it figured out. And now the green flag going to come out. We had a little bit of scoring issues. We figured it out. But Colin Bowden, he's going to lead this bottom side, getting a push. Oh, one car gets pushed up into the wall towards the back. Able to figure it out, though. They stay 2 by 2 going into 1.
2 by 2 up front, 3 wide all the way at the back, and you can't do that. You need to get organized, so you're going to lose this pack pretty quickly. But everybody trying to make moves on everybody as Seipel and Kenny Reel almost got together. That's enough of that. Let's turn our attention to the front now. 2 by 2. Bowden still leads the inside. He's getting pushed by Stephen Miles and Daniel Eberhardt. Meanwhile, you've got Nathan Harper up top, Christopher McCullough, and Trevor Osronoff. A lot of big names, a lot of PGR winners, and a couple that would still like to try to grab their first. And whoa, watch out. Oh, Kyler Wynn out backs. Going to cause a crash. Is not sure what happened to get him sideways, but he corrected and back up the track he went. And that's a big hit and another big incident here that's going to send us into our third and final green-white checkered attempt. It's been a while since we've been in this scenario. Well, Logan kind of predicted it. I think he said it right. The race was phenomenal up to this ending here, and this is sometimes what you worry about. Guys start to lose their cool. And I don't know what happened here, but for Kyler Wynn, and I believe it was Kyler. I saw a white and red car in the 82. Still damage to the rear and the front. That's partially from a few other incidents. Not sure how much of that is necessarily from this incident. So let's go back and see, let's go see if this was Kyler that gets out of shape or it was somebody else. Well, it's definitely Kyler that gets out of shape right here. And let's see. All right, so there's the 82. He's going to drop low, and he'll pick up a push from Falkingham, it looks like. And here we go. So Kyler Wynn goes down, and right as he goes down, the 39 of Falkingham just gets him in the left rear. Kyler goes down on the apron. It looks like he has it maybe saved and then immediately goes back up. He's trying to save it here, Baker. I mean, you can see his wheels turn to the left, but I just wonder if, I don't know. We'll have to go to a cockpit view. It's almost as if maybe the splitter kind of bottomed out on the apron and just shot that.
Oh, man. We got pit stops up front. Sorry. Pit stops up front, and it looks like Colin Bowden, he's going to be out of fuel here.
And okay, well, that was the next topic of issue we had to discuss, but I'm glad you mentioned it, Baker. And we'll show you what happened there with that in just a moment after we finish looking at the replay. I mean, that makes sense, too. Obviously, 3 overtimes. Guys not expecting to have to stretch it this far on fuel, but there's that incident again involving Daniel Falkingham, Kyler Wynn, and looked like Brian Hennings as well. As at this point, Kyler trying to save it. Him and Mike Davenport get together. Looks like they save it from there, but the rest of the chaos was all kind of isolated out back after that. And Baker, I don't know if you had a chance to go back and look at it, but I'm curious. I know you get to hear driver radio. For Kyler there, any idea, did it just, once he got on the apron, did it just bottom out on him? Did he overcorrect? I mean, what shoots this car up the racetrack so quickly? Usually he's pretty good at saving these things.
Yeah, it looks like when he gets pushed down, the transition between the banking and the apron, while it's not too bad at Talladega, it just caught the left front, pushed it straight up right.
And right here, notice right there, he's good, and then right there, just a little bit too late, trying to get it back to the left. But it's tough to do here, making a save with all the chaos that's going on around you, and things are happening left and right. You're just trying to position yourself to miss it or avoid as much of it as you can. But unfortunately, in this case, watch how many behind get collected in it. As Kyler goes down, everybody jumps low to try to miss it. Devin Ray nowhere to go. He collects Kenny Reel, David Flanagan, Landon Velicky, a whole plethora of other drivers that just, again, absolutely had nothing that they could do, nowhere to go. And for Velicky here, he had a pretty good night going all the way until we got towards the end here. To the incident between him and Ken McCullough Jr., and here's the onboard view from his angle. It's just couldn't quite get to the bottom without some contact that got himself sideways. And then obviously from there, it was just trying to hold on. Here's what it looked like from the turn 3 and 4 complex. A couple big hits there for Daniel Falkingham. You wonder if this might officially end his chances for tonight, as Tucker McClendon, Brock Westmoreland, and a few others there in the back trying to get things slowed up. Back up front we go. Nathan Harper leading the way, Stephen Miles second, and then you've got Christopher McCullough third, Trevor Oswinoth fourth, and Daniel Eberhardt rounding out your top 5. So 3 to go. Now, Baker did mention all the pit stops that we saw that, I would say you kind of forgot about the fact that these guys were going to have to do that, but that's what happens here when you run really long. And this is what it looked like, by the way, if you were curious here. The journey down the pits here for who all pit, who didn't, as Colin Bowden, your race leader, not feeling like he can make it on fuel, obviously, ran out, has to pit. Logan York in the same boat. Everybody else, at least for now, Baker feel like they can make it. Is there anybody that you'd be a little concerned about here?
No, I think they're good here to the end. I think everyone that's caught up is needed to be caught up. Stephen Miles done a great job he's been up front all day. Trevor Osmanoff, he's putting himself in a position to win. The Brad was doing a great job towards the beginning. And just really good driving by the cars that are up front have stayed up front here.
Absolutely, and there's the onboard view. Meant to show it for Jared Haynes. Infinite Frost giving us the call out for that amazing shot. Didn't even catch that initially. And man, that was close for Jared Haynes. Nice save for the driver out of Huntsville as he now finds himself getting closer to the front, but still obviously some work to do. Nonetheless here, it's going to be our final attempt at the green-white checkered. Baker, we haven't been in this scenario for a while. If I remember right, is the idea that unless there's a wreck up front involving the leaders, we're going to keep this thing green all the way?
Yeah, we're gonna run this out all the way. No caution's gonna come out here. Even if there's a wreck up front, we don't do that here in the weekly series, so we are gonna race it out to the finish here.
Absolutely. So going to race it to the finish. We will have to see how it pans out. Harper, big opportunity. Miles. What about Miles? He has been on fire lately. Seems like he has won in just about every money racing series that I've seen him in the last week or so. And he's going to try it yet again here tonight. Won in SSK last week. Trying to win in PGR this week. All right. Pace car going to make the left turn for the final time. It's been a busy night for him at the end, but his job is done. He's going to go hit the showers early, as here we go. The 4 Nathan Harper and the 24 Stephen Miles back into the Geico restart zone for the final time. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps to go, and they're going to wreck him up again out back. Couple cars down to the apron. That's it so far. Evan Kolb on one of them. They all keep it together, though, behind them and in front of them. 2 by 2 as they climb the banking into turn number 1. Nathan Harper, Stephen Miles, Christopher McCullough, and Trevor Osranoff, your front 4. But now it's the outside that's going to start to get more organized as they exit off of turn 2.
Off of turn 2, you see Stephen Miles getting a push from Trevor Osranoff. Barry LaPrade, oh man, all out of sorts here. You can't get offset here. Matt Lee, he's going to be pushing Garrett Maines, looking 3 wide. Briar LaPrade going to block that 3rd lane. Come back down, still 2 wide action. Stephen Miles really side drafting hard here. Got to be careful with the netcode, but Nathan Harper going to lead off turn 4.
And LaPrade is looking. There he goes. He'll jump up to the top. Garrett Maines is going to go with them further back. They're trying to hold it together. They may wreck here as they work through the trial. The one on the apron at Stallneck. 4 wide out back, but 2 by 2 up front. And the race is official. 1 lap to go at Talladega. Nathan Harper still leads as they work into turn number 1.
Out of turn 1, still wrecking behind. Kyler Wing gets turned up into the wall. Another car off, but Nathan Harper doing a great job leading the bottom. Oh man, he got the RMR when he needs to clear up to the middle if he wants a chance to win this race. You know McCullough is going to be pushing a big push on the outside. Here it comes, 3 wide. Garrett Maines getting the push from Matt Lee, Briar LaPrade, and Logan York. This 3rd line's going to have a shot. They're 4 wide, trying to wreck towards the back here.
3rd lane's got a massive run. Final time before they wreck. They all pile up out back. Harper's going to have to hold off Eberhardt. Final time of the trial. Will high or low? Where do you go? Eberhardt looking to the bottom. Will he look up top? No, he won't. Some damage will keep him from getting enough momentum. Nathan Harper wins it at Talladega.
Nathan Harper, 2 for 3 on the money races. Takes the RMR Tuesday night race. Takes the Thursday night Super Speedway Intimidator Series win. Unbelievable finish. A little bit of calamity towards the back. I have to go back and look at all of that, but great racing all around.
Yeah, those last 3 restarts all felt like calamity. Man, oh man. Well, we'll have to see. But Nathan Harper doesn't have to worry about it. Everything he did was good to go, clean to go. And so he is your race winner here tonight. Not one of your March Madness drivers. In fact, the highest finishing of your second round, Sweet 16 March Madness drivers was Colin Bowden, who finished in 5th. And in that final money position, Jeff Merck obviously beat out Cody Nagels and got himself a top 10. Axel Smith, I think that's going to be another bracket buster for the 2nd week in a row. He finishes in 10th. A good run for him. We'll have to see how some of the other results for that played out, but Nathan Harper brings it around and burns it down. And you know, Baker obviously will try to go back and look at one replay here, but for Eberhardt, I could be wrong. Maybe it's just the way the paint scheme looked, but initial look was almost like he had a little bit of damage there because it seemed like he just couldn't quite develop that run the way it looked like it was going to.
Yeah, he's offset to the right big time on McCullough. Just hooks him straight up into the field. Gonna have to take a look at that. unfortunate for sure.
All right, here we go. Go back and watch this replay once more as they work into turn 3. Here you go. A lot of pushing and shoving, and watch out back is Trevor Osnoth pushing Stephen Miles, who had all that rear end damage and was still holding on to that race car, by the way. And then here you see the first push from Eberhardt. Push number 2. Now he's way offset, and as he goes, there's push number 3 that ultimately turns Chris up the track. And yeah, it looks like he does get at least a smidge of right front damage from that. May not have been a lot, but you wonder if it's just enough here to hinder his run on a car that was completely undamaged. Right there, I thought he had a shot, but looks like instead of pulling out a line, he's okay with just pushing Harper, which is what he does right here. And you almost wonder if maybe Eberhardt knew a little something about that contact that happened, Baker, and decided it wasn't worth causing any more controversy. Well, not controversy, but I guess the best way I'm trying to describe it is if he had any thought of maybe getting penalized, no point in sitting there trying to get racing with Harper and potentially causing an incident for him if there's the risk that you're going to get moved back anyway. But nonetheless, obviously nothing intentional by Eberhardt. Hard racing at the end, and tough break for everybody involved, and going to be a tough break for Eberhardt as well because he had a great run all night. But obviously race control going to take a look at that. All right, we're looking at your results here for now. Obviously, if there's any changes, Baker here will let us know. But unofficial scoring, one thing we know is official is Nathan Harper is your race winner here tonight. Daniel Eberhardt currently being scored in second, Asher Little back in third, with Trevor Osnoth fourth, Colin Bowden fifth. Then you've got Ethan Eckert in sixth with Dylan Jones seventh, Nick Seipel in eighth. Then it's Jeff Merck in ninth and Axel Smith rounding out your top 10. Matthew Stallneck finishes in 11th, Brock Westermerlin in 12th, with Ken McCullough Jr. back in 13th, Landon Velicky in 14th. Aubrey Thompson back in 15th, Kyler Wynn finishes 16th. Riley LaPrade finishes in 17th here tonight. It's going to be Kenny Reel back in the 18th spot, and rounding out your top 20 is Nash Brambilla and Mike Davenport. Joshua McCullough finishes 21st, Richard Elliott 22nd, with Logan York 23rd. Then you've got Alex Hill 24th, Garrett Maines back in 25th, Tucker McClendon 26th, Stephen Miles 27th, with Christopher McCullough in 28th, Matt Lee 29th, and Jared Haynes rounding out your top 30. Freddie Bosnaz finishes 31st, Evan Carlbon 32nd, with David Flanagan 33rd. You've got Josh Gambro 34th, Matthew Patton 35th, John Ward 36th, Sterling Tice 37th, with Daniel Falkingham 38th, Brian Hennings 39th, and Devin Ray rounding out the top 40. Miles Bagley finishes 41st, Mark Vondell 42nd, with Cody Naggles 43rd, James Wagner 44th, and Steve Sizemore rounding out the field here tonight. He finishes in 45th. Well, we'll go grab your top 3 for interviews. Before we do, Baker, any word on if Daniel Eberhardt going to be changed position-wise?
Yeah, not really going to be an EOL called there. Looks like it's going to be a racing deal. Chris is he's lined up offset to Harper. Looks like he goes to line back down to Harper, and then once he does, Eberhardt comes to the back bumper, Chris offset.
All right, so there you go. Daniel Eberhardt keeping his spot tonight. He is your second-place finisher officially. Let's go bring both him and your other top 2, including your race winner, Nathan Harper, in for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Going to start first here tonight with your race winner, and that is Nathan Harper. Nathan, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you win the race here tonight, and man, at the end, you hold them all off through the overtime chaos, and at the end there, it looked like Eberhardt was going to try to make a move. He didn't have the run. What was going through your mind coming through the tri-oval?
Oh, shoot, I don't know. I suck at throwing blocks, and especially in these cars, I was kind of hesitant. I was like, well, do I just let them have the run, or I just try and go for it? And I kind of positioned myself in the tribal to kind of predict it, which I think I misjudged that part. But I don't know if he's getting EOL'd. They were talking about it, but apparently he caused the wreck, and I guess he was content with just pushing me. But they called him to the top 3 waiting room, but I feel like he was content there just to push me. But I was just ready for any move he had to make there.
Absolutely. Well, man, I mean, it was a very chaotic race overall. You got the drivers fighting in the Sweet 16 to advance to the Elite 8. You're not part of the March Madness bracket, but you're still out here going for the money. Now, PGR wins, certainly not an easy one to get. Whenever you get them, they got to feel pretty good. How hard was it to earn this one here tonight? And overall, how'd you feel about your race?
Well, it fell in my lap, so I'd say pretty easy. Before the overtime spree, of course, there was a wreck in turn 3, and I think I got bailed out with a little bit of net code, but they all wrecked, and I was on the top. I made them move to the top, and they all walled them up underneath me, and I got P3 and held my position there. And I don't know how the fuel worked out, but me and Bowden were on the same strategy, and he had to come in, and I was like well to the good. Like I was nearly 2 gallons to the good, so I don't know how that played out. I guess I saved good without even knowing, but I kind of chilled out, and then I guess that's what got me the fuel at the end. And then from there, I was like, man, I'm holding bottom. The guaranteed help, and it worked out for me.
Absolutely. Well, a good run here tonight, a race win, and a lot of winnings to go along with it. So before we let you head out here tonight, Nathan, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, shout out to MBG. I worked with Falkingham, Maines, Lee, and Merck. Unfortunately, they were pretty much controlling the race the whole time, and then they got that turn 3 wreck I mentioned. They got caught up in that, so that really sucks for them. Everyone who showed out, it was packed, and you for broadcasting, and Baker and Chiscaro for putting this on for us.
Absolutely. And Nathan, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the race win, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
All right, now it's going to bring us up to your second place finisher here tonight, D3, Daniel Eberhardt. Daniel, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy.
Hey, buddy.
Well, you take home second. They reviewed it, said it was a racing incident. So you're taking home a pretty good chunk of money. And, man, listen, I know it's not something you meant to do, and I can hear it from your voice. You're not too happy about it. What was going through your head those last couple laps with all the chaos going on?
Well, me and Chris always work good together, like every time. And usually he's the one pushing me. And I thought he was going to hop in front of Steven on that white flag lap. And I know he had to be really hot because I could just tell from the way I was pushing him, it was just getting him sideways. Like he had to be lifting a little bit off of Nathan just to keep his car cool enough to try to make it. And I think he was just trying to survive there. And we hit a little bit going into 3 before we got to 3. And then he went down and I was still in line from where we hit because we just all got discombobulated. And then when he got up to Nathan, I was already in line with him, pushing him up to Nathan. And then I was a little, I don't know. I'm looking at it so many different ways. It looks like he hits Nathan, gets loose, and then we're all just discombobulated. We just start wrecking. So I don't know. It's like I told him, if there's one guy I hate that I wrecked right there was him because he's such a nice guy and everything. You're trying to do everything to benefit your line, but you're also doing everything to benefit yourself. So it's like, do you be selfish? Or, I mean, it's like all these guys are going to say they're lifting. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel bad about wrecking the field right there. I don't know what else to do. And then you see Breyer up there, he's pushing 3 deep. So I'm like, what? I don't know. What do you want me to do? I'm just trying to benefit our line. I mean, I like Nathan and I like Chris.
Well, it may not be the best ending the way you wanted it to, but nonetheless, obviously a good finish. And excluding the ending, let's say it that way, I guess, you had a great race overall to get yourself in position. And with as chaotic as things have been, these Xfinity cars still, they seemed a little bit different tonight. I mean, we saw a ton of huge saves. Did the car feel different on track? And what do you think was kind of behind so much of the aggressive racing and some of the big saves we saw here tonight?
Well, I really don't know. I saved it up top. The net code was pretty bad. These cars are just like, I don't know if iRacing thinks it's realistic to make them get squirrely like that. I mean, I don't know. It's fine and fun, but when you're 4 wide, it's not. So every time we got 4 wide tonight, that's where you saw a lot of net code happen. it was just it's a fun car to drive. I feel like the damage, they got to work on that and stuff like that. I just hope this build they change stuff. I just need a big update for these draft. We're so on top of each other with everything. And if you watch a real life Xfinity race, they're like old cup cars racing out there. You know, they're getting a little broke up. They can build a big huge run. We can't do that. We're just all looks like we're just really a lot of drag, and we're all stuck on top of each other. And then once you get third lane up top, you're kind of just stuck until somebody just gets enough kahunas to push clear. So I don't know. It's just very frustrating, the racing we've seen just throughout money racing. And it's not drivers. It's the cars. It's people trying to just do too much. Probably like me right there. Was I trying to do too much? I don't know.
Well, nonetheless, to cap off a good finish for you here tonight, Daniel, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thank you, Austin. You do a great job with the broadcast. You work your happy little tail off each and every week. Baker on race control. I know he's had a tough night tonight. That was really aggravating to go 50 laps, and then we get a caution, and then it just all mayhem breaks loose, and it's tough. I know that. And thank you to Michael Triscaro. Everything he does with PGR, works really hard. Works his tail off, and it just keeps getting better and bigger. So thank you again.
Daniel, thank you for talking to us. Again, congrats on the second place finish. We'll see you next week. All right, now that's going to bring us to the final of your top three finishers here tonight. Third place finisher, Asher Little. Asher, this is Austin up in the booth. Get a copy.
Yes, sir.
Well, you bring home third place here tonight, and been hearing a lot of people starting to talk more and more about Asher Little and how he's been making his way to the front, and saying that a lot of teams need to pick him up because he's going to be dangerous. And, man, you prove that here tonight. You work your way into the podium at the end. May not have been the best run for you overall tonight, but, you know, you get it done at the end. Tell us about kind of what was going through your head those last couple laps and how you were able to find your way to third place at the end.
Yeah, I started 14th. I was like, I'm just going to put the pedal to the metal. I'm not lifting. And check up on the bottom, I wrecked someone. I don't know if that was my fault. I have to rewatch that. And it kind of just got handed to me at the end there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you know, as for the Xfinity cards, some people like it, some people don't. Tonight, obviously, the racing was pretty crazy, and I know that you're not involved in this March Madness bracket right now, obviously, but nonetheless, you're still out here racing with these guys. And, you know, we look ahead to kind of what we could expect next week. Similar track style of racing, but a different car. How do you kind of adapt each week to a different series?
I mean, I just go out there and run and hope I'm up front. There's other drivers probably something different, but I just go out there, have a fun time, and enjoy it.
Well, you look like you were having fun tonight with that third place finish. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, Devin Ray, big thanks for sponsoring me for this one. The guys at PGR, they let me hop on, got to run with them. They're fun. You know, last, my grandparents, they have always been watching me do these races. I'm very happy to get them this P3 of it. They're going crazy right now.
Well, Asher, we appreciate you talking to us again. Congrats on that third place finish, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Yep, thank you.
All right, there you go, Asher Little. Well, Asher Little. Well, nonetheless, he's been up and coming as a recent. Keep your eye on this kid. He's going to be dangerous as we start to work through the different money racing series. He's getting talented, as is the rest of the field. These are tough ones to win, but nonetheless, seems like each week we are not disappointed by the winner of it. Nathan Harper gets the job done here tonight. Well, Matthew Baker obviously had to go handle some of his race control duties, and for series owner Michael Triscaro dealing with some things of his own. So initially, I thought I heard we were going to get a new updated bracket, but I don't see it as of right now. So with that, we'll close some things up here tonight. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. Obviously, we hope that you enjoyed and that there were no issues here tonight. A good race overall. The ending, though, obviously got a little bit messy, but that's kind of the way these things go sometimes. Nonetheless, next week we head on to the next round of March Madness, the Elite Eight, and slowly getting closer to that championship matchup. Some of the upsets tonight, obviously Axel Smith, the bracket buster, and that one, Cody Nagels wrecking out late. I wouldn't call it a bracket buster. Jeff Merck and Cody Nagels, obviously always a threat, both when going against each other, but it seemed like Cody had the upper hand at the end until he got wrecked out. So nonetheless, that'll wrap things up for me here tonight. Austin Green alongside Matthew Baker, who again, not here now, but certainly appreciate everything he did for us. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and until next time, have a good night.